Hi, my name's Tyler Ekdahl. I'm from Maple Ridge, British Columbia. I am a Togans Pro staff team member, and today I'm going to be tying up one of my favorite Chironomid patterns. You're going to need some UTC 70 black thread. You'll also need some UT70 red thread. You will need some UTC small red wire. You will need some Uni-Stretch for the gills in white. Some ASB, whether you cut it yourself, get someone to cut it, this stuff is excellent. I'm using the 0.75 millimeter. It's really great stuff. Togans, size 14 curved nymph hook. They're excellent hooks. You are also going to need some Togans 3/32 brass black beads. Favorite resin? I like to use Raid Zap super thin. It's really good stuff. I used to use Solar Res, but this stuff is great. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to tie on our gills up front here, starting with your red thread. Get the thread started and trim it off. Get yourself a piece of your Uni-Stretch. I like to cut a little piece like this and then fold it in half so you can have a little extra material without having to use as much. You tie that at the very front of the hook here, right over top of the eye. Leave it nice and scruffy like that. The buggier the better. Trim off your red thread. Slide your bead back up to the front. And restart your red thread here. Which will trim off the little tag piece here. And I take this time right now to build up a little bit of a taper. Just to have a nice transition with the black thread and to also lock down this bead right here. Yep. We're also going to trim these gills right now too. There we go. So now we're going to take a piece of our red wire here. Cut yourself out a nice little piece. And I like to tie my ribbing in right at the front. It gives it a nice even body all the way down the shank. So I start that at the top here, and I'll just chase it all the way down. We can see what's going on here. All the way down. I leave about a quarter of my body length left here to tie in my ASB. Which I will be grabbing a strip of that right now once I find it. Here we are. Take a piece of that ASB and tie that in at the end there. And now as I make my way back up, I'm going to counter spin. Whoops. I dropped my camera, guys. Sorry about that. So as I come back up my body, I'm going to counter spin my UTC red thread counterclockwise, and it really helps this stuff lay a lot flatter on your way back up. You're going to take this time to fill in any gaps and try to keep your wraps nice and smooth on the way up. Nice and equal. This is just going to be the base of it. I'm going to come back up to the top here. And I'm going to be changing threads, so we'll whip finish off this red thread and get it out of there. Time to start with your black thread. So I'm going to take this black thread and go about 3/4 way down. When I get there, I'm going to start heading back up, giving my thread a slight little twist back and forth as it allows some of the red to show through. Again, filling in any gaps. Making a little bit more of a tapered body. Starting to look like a chironomid now. So next we're going to tie in the red ribbing the opposite way you tied your thread. And it seems to be about 7 wraps, 7 ribbing is your magic number. 5, 6, and 7. Lock that wire in there and give it the old helicopter out. Come on. There we go. Now you're going to follow it with your ASB, wrapping as close as you can to the red wire without covering it like I just did. Wrap it up and tie the ASB off. With this ASB, when I trim it here, I pull on it quite hard to get a nice clean cut, else it will leave a bunch on there. So build up a bit of a black collar and whip finish. This is one of my go-to chironomid patterns. They work very well in most BC interior lakes. At this point, I'm going to take a little bit of my UV Raid Zap super thin resin. And give it a little coat on here. The more even you can get this resin, the nicer profile you end up having on the chironomid. Put some resin on there, get your bodkin, or for me, I just use some old paper clips. Just to help smooth out the resin here, that's all you're doing, smoothing it out. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Hit it with your UV light to cure it. And that's pretty much it for my my go-to chironomid pattern. And there's the finished product of my go-to chironomid pattern. This thing absolutely slays in all BC still waters. It's my go-to tie-on first chironomid.